Alleluia. Om Mani Padme Om. Allah Satnam.
Welcome. You're watching Harmony and Diversity, and we're speaking with Michael Honan from the Catholic Youth Mission Team in Melbourne. Thanks for coming back again, Michael. We had an interesting talk about your life and about the mission team. Yep. So I'd like to talk more about the mission team, and just to refresh our memory, give us an idea. It's got its headquarters in Wollongong, and then it goes from there. It's got state representatives?
Yep, so we've got 4 teams around Australia, and in each location we have a manager who oversees the team's work in each individual city. Yep.
And the team's work, what is the team's work?
So 3 days a week we go out and we run retreats and reflection days for high school students, usually between years 9 and year 12. Bringing a message of of the love of God, and a lot of positive themes like having a positive self-image and themes of leadership and things like that.
So you do that 3 days a week.
Yep.
And there's a different retreat every one of those days?
Yep. So that it really depends on the week. So some weeks we'll maybe go to the same school a couple of times, maybe do have a day with half the year level one day, and then the next day do the other half of the year level, but have the same program. And then the next day we may have a completely different school with a completely different program. So it often depends on the school and if we have different schools.
And what would be a typical program?
So each day is broken up into 3 sessions, and the day really depends on what the theme is. So the school gets to they decide on the theme. So that can be anything from self-image to leadership, social justice, anything like that. And then each of the sessions we cover a different maybe area of that. So say for example our self-image program, in the first session we talk about having a positive self-image and the idea that each individual student is unique and has intrinsic worth and is loved by God. And the second session we may talk about that uniqueness and individuality of everyone else. So how we should treat other people with the same respect that we deserve. And then maybe in the third session we'd go and bring faith into it. So so how God loves us, how Christ's sacrifice for us is what gives us that intrinsic worth and dignity.
Okay, and of course you're in Catholic schools,
yes.
so the context is Catholic, so you've got a door to where they're probably going to be at. Which, yes. Do you do that under supervision, or is it something that the school just lets you go in and run it, or do you have a teacher with you, or?
So each of the schools usually has staff members present. So maybe the staff members that would usually take a class that day would come and be with the students just as supervisors. And
do you need much supervision, or do you get pretty close attention? The kids respond well?
The kids respond well. It's not usually necessary. It's just something that so some schools may not may only be 1 or 2 staff members present. It also may be a control thing if there's, say if we're running a day with 200 kids, it might be difficult to control them very easily with just 8 of us or so. So having the staff members as well gives that extra authority.
And the average age of these students would be what?
On average, it's mostly years 9s and year 10s, so that's
Right.
15, 16.
15, 16.
Yeah.
And that can be a fairly sort of scratchy part of a young person's life, particularly boys at that age. And you don't have normally they seem to be fairly receptive and under control.
Yeah, well, it's a fantastic program. So it's a lot of, it's not just sitting there throughout the day being lectured to. We run, at the start of each session, we have a couple of, we call them icebreakers, so they're like games to start off with to get them moving around. The whole day is, it's a lot of interactive activities followed by one of the team members, we call it debriefing, the activity showing how that activity emphasises the importance of recognising other people's uniqueness, for example. So it's a very, very broken up day. It's not just sitting around being talked at, but it's a lot of
That's right.
a lot of different. Yeah.
It sounds as though it's been pretty fairly carefully structured and structured from someone who's informed in those sort of things. Who actually put it together, the course itself?
Yeah, so that was the national management in Wollongong. They've been doing it since 1986 or so they've got a lot of experience.
Bit of practice, yeah.
Yeah, in that area.
Yeah, well, that's interesting. Now, so okay, we've got we start to get student feedback. So, what's that look like?
Yeah, there's a lot of fantastic feedback. It's probably the most common thing I hear. Is that was more fun than I thought it'd be. I hear a lot of kids saying that as they leave, even if they haven't had a massive life-changing experience, it's still a great fun day where they can get involved. And then there's people that have amazing experiences that I've had boys say to me they're going to start going to mass again, they're going to start praying again, because
it's incredible.
Things
That's
like that.
Really good.
And we've also got, as part of that, we've got follow-up on, so Friday nights we run a youth group, and so kids can come along to that if they're interested in following up.
It sounds as though they're having a good time and we're out of it. We'll come back to that. We'll be back in a moment. Welcome back. You're watching Harmony University. We're speaking with Michael Honan. He's from the Catholic Youth Mission Team in Melbourne. Michael, we were just talking about the feedback from the students. Perhaps we could explore that a little further rather than better. It's always better, a little further. Is that you mentioned one where youths would say that they were going to continue to go to Mass, or they're going to go back to Mass.
Yeah.
That's pretty powerful, isn't it? Is that your objective, part of your objective to do that?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, if we can reintroduce or even introduce for the first time people to faith and to, just the fact that God loves them, I think it's a really powerful message.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, going back to your own experience from our earlier program, where you mentioned that you really came into your true Catholicism in a process of association and enjoyment, etc., and gradually it grew in you. How do you feel when you see a young person say that to you? Does that relate back to your own development?
Yeah, it does. It's really exciting, I think, because it's been such a fantastic part of my life and such a great thing for me to see that in someone else. It's really exciting.
And talking about development, you guys, you live, once you become a member, and let's look at how you do. Yeah. You live in communities, don't you?
Yeah.
So we'll talk about that as well. So, all right, you're interested, someone's interested in becoming a member of the Youth Mission Team. Yeah. What do they do?
Well, if you can get in contact with the manager in that city, the city you're in, so because I was going to the youth group, I'd see the Melbourne manager usually once a week or so. So I was able to ask about that, and the manager can ask for an application form for you, so you can fill out the application, which is quite extensive, but it's really a good part of the decision to join youth mission team if you can like, reflect on all the different parts of the application. And once you've sent that in, the management, they consider the application, they pray about it, maybe ask if the manager knows you or if anyone knows you, like maybe a character sort of reference, I suppose.
Yes.
And then they'll organise an interview with you via Skype usually, just to have a chat about the application and about your interest in joining team. And then they'll go away and pray about it more and consider your application. And then I received a phone call, with feedback on whether or not I'd been accepted. And,
okay, what happened then? You were accepted, then what happened?
After that, they send you an email with all the information you need. So the first thing after that is like you to attend a summer school, which is run by the Disciples of Jesus community, which I mentioned before. They run a summer school every summer holidays. So that's a week long, like a camp. So you go to that, and after that there's what's called startup training, which is usually late January, where you're just together with the whole national team for that year and all the managers and all the management, and you prepare for the year. You meet all the other team members, and they see how you work with the other people, and they'll assign you your teams. And then it's about 10 days of training at the start of the year called startup training, and then you go out into your teams. So this year there's 7 people in Melbourne and 1 manager, and then you have 2 weeks or so of local training where you get introduced to the city you're in, and more hands-on, like how exactly to run the ministry days, the school days, and various things like that. So it's
what sort of transformation do you feel this causing in you over that period? What are the changes from when you start till when you come out? What's the internal feeling about yourself as a member of the team? What's it to do for you?
Across the whole year, or just like
just across that introductory part, from being accepted to the part of actually coming out and being an active member. There's a lot of stuff happening in there.
Yeah, I think I grew a lot in terms of my self-confidence, I suppose. Knew what I was doing for the year. Also being part of the team, like you're introduced to your team members. Going in, you're not sure who you're going to be with and where you're going to be. So you get to meet your team and initially getting to know them and getting to know the city you're in.
And your living arrangements, you actually live in shared accommodation, don't you? How does that work?
So there's the 7 of us in Melbourne this year. So there's 3 of us boys and 4 girls. So the boys and the girls live in separate housing. So I rent a flat with the 2 other boys. And so working Mondays and Tuesdays, 2 days a week, we use that money we make to pay for food, to pay for rent, to sustain ourselves in where we're living for the year.
And as we mentioned last week, you earn that money by tutoring chess. What do the others do to earn the money?
I also do a little bit of gardening.
Okay, right.
Yeah, so just to supplement the money I make from the chess, I do some gardening. One of the boys does some tradie work, so some manual labour and things like that. One of the other boys has done a little bit of babysitting earlier in the year, and now does some admin work for a
Right.
real estate company, I think.
Okay. Right.
Yeah, and then
So-
all of us boys do a fair bit of gardening as well.
Yeah, it sounds like you're fairly determined, and that's excellent. We'll talk more about this because we're out of time for the moment. We'll be back in a moment.
Om Mani Allah. Alleluia. Om Mani Allah.
Welcome back. You're watching Harmony and Diversity, and we're speaking with Michael Honan. He's a Catholic Youth Mission Team member from Melbourne, and we're talking about the community. And this is a pretty important part of the whole thing, isn't it?
Yep.
So we've got 3 guys living in a flat together and 4 young women.
Yep.
What's the spiritual component of those communities? Do you pray together? What do you do?
Yeah. So each day we attend Mass. So daily Mass is a big part of that.
Yes.
Usually together as a team. We pray together in the mornings and night time.
Right.
So there's a few different ways you can do that. What we boys like to do is we like to, it's called 20s. So you spend 20 minutes reading the daily scriptures.
Yeah.
Spend 20 minutes journaling about them, and then 20 minutes discussing those scriptures. So that's an hour every morning of time set aside for the scriptures and reflecting on the scriptures, and that's really enjoyable and really helpful. And then at night we say the Divine Office
You
to
do
close
the
the day.
office, yeah. And so the earlier part, is that a reflection of the Ignatian principles? Is that an Ignatian process, or it's just similar?
I think it's similar, but
just
it's
similar.
not exactly.
Yep. No, that's fine. Now you guys though, you actually have to give up stuff as well, don't you? It's a celibate group, isn't it?
Yeah, so it's it's called single vision. So we choose not to date for the year. So any relationships that we're in, we put on hold, and we choose not to start any new relationships whilst during our year of dating.
Yeah. And that can be up to 2 years that you do that, is it? How long? Yeah, 2 years.
So it can be.
It's a big commitment.
Yeah, you can choose to do it for a year, or if you feel called to do another year, you can.
And you need to give up things as well, like you've suspended your studies or something, haven't you, at this point, or delayed your commencement?
Yeah, so I've deferred a year of. So I was going to go into a Bachelor of Arts at Melbourne Uni, but I've chosen to defer that to take up again next year or the year after, and whenever I'm.
So you've actually been you've successfully enrolled and then deferred.
Yeah.
Oh, that's good. So that's sort of sitting there waiting for you when you want to take it up. So you've got a bunch of young people who are out there 3 days a week doing some very effective work in the Catholic context. How does that fit amongst other young people of your own sort of age group? How do you go? Do you have people patting you on the back and saying you're doing a great job, or punching you in the eye? Where does it fit? How does it fit?
I think it sort of depends. So if, like, my group of friends was very supportive, and even if they weren't Catholic, they were very, they can recognise it's a very positive thing to be doing, and so I've received a lot of support for that. But I know of other people who, I know other people find it a bit weird what they're doing, or not as supportive as maybe as what I've received coming onto the team.
So do you do any missionary type work outside of the schoolwork, like amongst members, just young people of your own age group? Do you go out like in any missionary way in relation to that?
Not specifically, but we can choose to run our, so along with the youth group we can hold other events, so we might put on maybe have a board game afternoon and invite other young people to come and play board games with us, just outside of like a youth group context, just so we can get to know other young people and build relationships with them outside of maybe that the context of the school days and outside of the youth group, so we can just
So looking at young people of your own age group, what sort of things do you think you could see where this small group of people is going, and then you look outside of that? What are your observations in relation to the benefit potentially, in relation to the use of drugs, in relation to sexual promiscuity, in relation to being actually lost? How does that affect you when you look at it and you see, is there some connection where you feel as though there's something you might be able to do, what you'd like to see them do in order to move into that place you are yourself?
Yeah, I think just coming into contact and hearing the message of the team, which is I think a lot of those sorts of issues can come from a less than positive self-image, and our message is that you have intrinsic worth, you're loved by God, like that sort of positivity, I think, is probably missing in the world today. Spreading that message that you are loved and you are worthy.
I was interested in the way that you said you present at the schools, in the sense that you only introduced the religious component in the third of the sessions.
Yeah.
So the first bit is actually just about the individual.
Yeah.
Hey, you need to feel, well, you can feel better about yourself. This is the way to do it.
Yeah.
And then you build through that. And you have the outcome of some of the students, at least, were saying, hey, that was great, it was more enjoyable than I thought. And others say, I'm going to go to Mass. Do any of them walk up and say, I'd like to be a member of the mission team?
Yeah, we've had that, a number of times. And they ask, like, how do you do it? And,
it's fantastic. That's fantastic. Well, we're out of time, and thank you so much, Michael. It's inspirational to talk to a young person like yourself, involved in something like the mission team, and you, the whole 7 of you. It's just amazing. So thank you very much.
Thank you for having me, Norm.
No problem. You've been watching Harmony and Diversity. We'll be back next week. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.
Baha'u'llah, Shanti Om, Allah